Act 2, food wars. The second one, which does somewhat relate to what we did in puppy culture, is feeding, weaning. And, I didn't go heavy into animal husbandry, like actual weaning practices in puppy culture, but I put in what we do. And we always started a certain way, and it was never onto anything but meat, right? Milk and then venison. And even with our dogs, we really don't give them carbohydrates. We didn't at all, because we feed raw. But, I'm always looking at studies of gut biome and feeding practices. Now, let me just take a step back and say gut biome. So your intestinal flora, what lives in your intestines, in your gut, it's as unique to you as a fingerprint. In fact, in some places, they're starting to use gut biome in forensics, in criminal forensics. They can actually use it to identify people, like a DNA. Yeah, it's fascinating. And your gut biome is determined to some extent prenatally, but also there's a socialization window, so to speak, for your gut biome. So it's right in the beginning of life for humans and for dogs. So the more diversity you get in the beginning of life in your gut biome, the healthier you'll be. That is well established, that the more diverse your gut biome is, the healthier you are. So our goal as breeders when we're weaning is always to get as much diversity in, balancing, not making the puppy sick. So, you just have to add one thing at a time. We try and do something new every day and get as diverse a gut biome going as possible. Well, I was reading a very good study on a comparison of gut biome between kibble-fed dogs and raw-fed dogs. They gave a chart, a scatter plot chart of the gut biome, what was in the gut biome of the raw versus kibble-fed. And predictably, the raw-fed dogs had tremendously more in diversity in their gut biome than the kibble-fed dogs. The kibble-fed dogs only had a few dots on the scatter plot chart, whereas the raw-fed dogs had a tremendous amount. But here's the important thing that I learned when I looked at that chart. Although the kibble-fed dogs had a very non-diverse gut biome, there were some dots, some things that they had in their gut biome that the raw-fed dogs did not have. So to truly diversify as much as possible, what this says to me, adding a little carbohydrates, probably is a good idea.
How do you come up with carbohydrates? Is that equal to
kibble
fed?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Well, because that's what we don't put in raw. We were no carbohydrates except what you find in vegetables.
Do they not make a kibble-based food that has no carbohydrates?
No, there's no such thing. Yeah. Oh, well, there are the raw nibs it's just freeze-dried raw. You can get freeze-dried raw, but the definition kind of kibble is it's something that's extruded with some kind of medium, like a wheat or a corn or a potato or something, or some they do have grain-free, but it's legumes, peas, things like that. So
is that what made the study interesting? Is this why the study was done and why it was published, or what was the reason they did the study?
Well, they wanted to know. And, and it was a great study because as far as I could tell, it was pretty straightforward. They did not overstate their findings. They just said, there's a difference. They didn't say which is better or whatever. They said, there's a difference between the gut biome profile of a kibble-fed versus a raw-fed dog is different. Now, as a breeder, I look at it and I look at that scatter plot and I say, different, but look, there's some things I'm not getting into my dogs with this.
So where's the wrong in this?
I was wrong because I just thought, carbohydrates are bad for dogs. They just don't need carbohydrates.
Is that from tribal knowledge?
Right. Well, it's the food tribe. Yeah, that's the raw food tribe.
Well, you're going to stir up a whole hornet's nest now, aren't you?
Well, I mean, the thing is, for me, that wasn't listen, the intrauterine growth restriction one was more difficult because I had a strong story about bull terriers and type and heads,
Correct.
bull terriers' heads. I really don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to what you feed your dogs. I'm not one of those people, so I have no problem. I mean, what I do have a dog in the fight about is diversity in gut biome. I do really believe that that's important. So, if I had been an ideologue about feeding raw, which people, they're very funny about food. They're very funny about food. I'm not.
I get it. I mean, I understand why.
Why?
Well, it's perceived health. I mean, it's doing the best you can for a living thing. So
right, and you're judgmental if you don't. Right.
Well, I mean, if you're going to follow along on those forums and be a part of that, you're going to be a believer in that. You're going to support that. You're going to look for the positive aspects of it. None of us are looking, as scientists do, with a clear mind to find fault in anything.
But yes, that's what this podcast is all about.
Oh, I know.
I'm hoping to encourage people to do that. And it is painfully difficult.
It's an incredible emotional experience.
Right. Well, you had this whole construct of yourself as this person who was right, and now you have to rethink everything about that, you did, that you're wrong. But what I'm saying is, if you have the more scientific mind, you don't have that construct of right and wrong. You have that construct of being a life student and always learning and being open to it.
Well, but
and it becomes easier.
I'm assuming that question number 3 is going to give us all the answers. You're going to give us the path here on how to not feel that way.
No.
That's not fair.
It's a process.
It's one of these movies that ends in just total despair. And is that how this is going to end?
Well, I hope you don't feel despair from this because, listen, when I say wrong, it feels, wrong. Like, oh, I've had to, I've changed the way I feel about feeding carbohydrates. Like I made this movie and I didn't give the puppies oatmeal and now I do give them resistant starch and, I do these things, small amounts, but still I've added it into my program. And, it's not like the other way was bad. It wasn't like, oh, I've completely switched now to weaning on to only kibble, that I've decided that is the way to go. I mean, which, who knows, someday I may decide that that's the way to go. But, this is about learning and it's about being better. And it is also, in a big way, about building a community and how wonderful the community around puppy culture is. Because it's these people that we've built into this community contribute incredibly every day. In that discussion group, I mean, it's just crazy how much we all learn every day about the differences. And, when you create a truly safe space for people and really, truly do not tolerate any oblique criticism of anybody and keep everything above board and safe, it's amazing the dividends.
What? So people, what makes it safe? People can be wrong when they ask a question. They're free to not be judged by that.
Well, first of all, like if somebody puts up a picture of a puppy and, somebody asks a question and somebody says, well, I see you took off dew claws. I don't take off dew claws. It hurts their tendons. It's like, dude, no, you're out. Nobody asked you. The person was asking about what kind of litter should I use, but this is what people do. I mean, and then unfortunately those people come and they kind of sit like a big hen on top of it and just ruin it for everyone else. And, we just don't tolerate that. We don't, and that will be another conversation, but we don't tolerate anybody who doesn't like certain breeds or breed types or mixes of breeds or, whatever else they don't like. As long as it's not antithetical to puppy culture, Like, we're not going to have people up there saying, oh, shock collars are okay. No, we don't, that's just not part of our ethos. But, we've just created a great community with that.